meeting. Is there any courtesy of the floor? Hearing and seeing none, we'll move into a presentation from the folks from Borne.
Good morning. Good afternoon. You can see I'm not really doing too good with this foot. I'm disoriented. First, we want to say thank you for having us today. We really appreciate you guys allowing us some time to talk about who we are and what we do here within the county of Northampton and some of the surrounding counties. No, I probably need to stand up for a while. I've been on these crutches and I'm about sick of not putting weight on it, but they said don't with my heel. So, all right, so Borne, here, who we are and what we do. Did I do it right? All right, so I'm not going to PowerPoint by death, you guys, but I'll do my best here to breeze through this. So basically, Borne is a collaborative effort among like-minded individuals who are intent on restoring and repairing those who have served our nation. We do this through collaborative efforts as well as holistic support programs in partnerships with many community organizations, including the County of Northampton Drug and Alcohol. Our programs foster healing in an environment filled with understanding and shared experiences. That's the mission. A little bit about our backstory, as you can see. My wife and I are the co-founders. I'm from the Phillipsburg Easton area. I have a huge military family history. Grandfather was in World War II Pearl Harbor. Great aunt was in World War II as a Navy Wave and retired from the Easton School District as the secretary of the school district of 39 years. My dad was in the Army in Vietnam, and of course I joined the Marine Corps just because they told me that I shouldn't join the Marine Corps. Biggest struggle for me was finding purpose after the military. I struggled for about 15 years, did not utilize the VA like most veterans don't, thought it was for other people who really deserved it and needed it more than myself. And then one day in 2014, a friend of the family said, hey, I'm going out to some homeless camps. We're going to volunteer to help homeless veterans. And as a matter of fact, this morning our team was with the VA. They're doing a surge event. So Victory House, Catholic Charities, a whole bunch of community organizations took different areas. Some went under the bridge in Easton, some went in Bethlehem, people from the Hope Center, some took Allentown, and we deployed multiple teams to go into the camps and identify homeless veterans. And I just got word through email that 2 veterans were identified and will be put into hotels this evening or tomorrow morning. So that's kind of stuff that we do, partnering up with the organizations. We appreciate the privilege that they allow us to do that, especially when it comes to working with the VA. So I went out into a homeless camp in 2014, and that day my sense of purpose was restored. I truly talk about this often, and I think Anthony, who is here, a part of our team, will attest to this. A lot of veterans, it's something in the DNA that we're wired to serve, right, to give back. And I feel like when veterans come home and they don't do that, something is missing. So our job is to get them back into the community, get them serving once again to reinvigorate that sense of purpose. So basically, that day I started volunteering, bounced around volunteering for a few organizations until I became a board member of One Fight Foundation, which is now no longer in existence. And my wife and I saw a need to have an organization that bridged the gap. So we didn't start our own organization because it was out of competition or anything like that. It was just we saw needs that weren't being met and thought, wow, wouldn't it be a great idea if there was an organization who would be willing to work with other organizations instead of like being a silo. So there's 2 types of organizations. There's silos and they're hubs. We're a hub. We want to work with everybody. We want to be the, for lack of a better term, the guy who knows a guy. So if we don't provide what you need, we're going to find someone who does. And wife is a military brat. She bounced around the first 8 years of her life, i.e. her name is Cadence. Her dad was in the Army. So she lived all over the country for the first 8 years while her dad served. She wanted to give back, but she wasn't sure how. She volunteered with a service dog organization. As a matter of fact, she used to be on the board of the organization where Luke came from. So she has been a big sister for the last 17 years now. This was created when we first started. And she's a big sister and works at St. Luke's Hospital, and she is our co-founder and vice president. Oh, and I think, uh-oh, how do I go back? Did I mess up? You can't give Marines any type of technology. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. All right. So just so you think, little funny story. Our son helped us start it, but the joke was at our wedding, people said we should really represent the organization. So all of myself and our groomsmen wore our T-shirts under the tux, and we just think that that's pretty neat. All right, so the beginning, we consulted with a lawyer to see how we could make this possible. Just obviously, we discussed it among ourselves. I kind of already given you a little bit of background. We just saw that how do we fit into the community where ideas can be turned into impact? Like, where can we see these needs and how can we make them reality, right? So that was what the consultant was. Basically, I shared with a good friend who's an attorney, and I said, look, this is what I want to do. And I had no idea that he just started a very similar nonprofit for civilians. Had no idea that he just started it. And I said, hey, this is what I want to do. What do you think? Do you think it would work? He said, not only do I think it would work, but I'll file all your paperwork for no cost. And I was like, whoa, okay, so that was a sign. So when we started out, we only had 4 basic services based on the income that we could bring in from selling T-shirts out of the trunk of our cars. We brought in enough money to provide bus passes, grocery cards, because again, this was 2018, so you could get a lot of groceries for $50. Gas cards, and my favorite, haircuts, which I'm very resentful because I never had the opportunity to take advantage of, right? So we had an onboard hairstylist who would cut their hair. CareerLink would send them to us, or we knew vets were looking for jobs. We would cut their hair for them, or if they just got jobs and couldn't afford haircuts, keep them groomed up so they could feel good about themselves. So basically, how we serve the veterans is we strive to assist in all the needs, like I kind of mentioned earlier. If we don't do it, we have a community partner who does. Our approach is collaborative, providing peer-based driven support. We have 7 peer-based holistic support programs. 4 of them are national. We have Zooms that we provide peer-based groups on. One of them, every Monday night, we have a current National Guard member who is from Puerto Rico, stationed in Puerto Rico, who Zooms into our group. I think that's really neat. So some of these services really help people all across the country. The other ones are kind of right here within Northampton, Lehigh, Monroe, and Carbon County. So a little over a year ago, we saw the need to help veterans who encounter legal system. So some of you may know in the room, I know some of the audience does, we helped start the Veterans Court with Judge Slepfold in Northampton County. However, since then, we've stepped away from that. It's running really good. There's no really need for us to be a part of it. The mentors are in place. It's going great. We just don't have the time to keep helping with that particular project. So we started that. It's running well. And now the counties we serve in PA are Lehigh, Northampton, Carbon, Monroe, Berks, Schuylkill. We're in Warren County, New Jersey. We're also in Lackawanna, Luzerne, Wyoming, Bucks, Chester, Montgomery, Lebanon, and Lancaster, and Dauphin. That's just like the basics that we have a physical presence in. Okay, here we go. I'm not going to drive you nuts with this stuff, but if you look on our website, each one of those tabs up there talks about it has different blogs and different data underneath those, like the Veterans Resource Center, the trauma support workshops, the holistic practices, case management, transportation. But on the right-hand side, I think is very important. We have those services are available as well, and most of those, as I'm looking briefly, we provide those right out of Palmer Recovery Center on Fridays. And down at the bottom, it tells you we have 3 physical drop-in locations. Friday at Palmer Recovery Center, now the 1st and 3rd Fridays of each month. We have the one in Allentown, Lehigh County. We have a 1-day a week in Monroe, and we're very, very close to putting the one in place in Carbon for 1 day a week. Carbon is a county that struggles tremendously with veteran services due to lack of transportation services up there, like public transportation, stuff like that. Just a couple flyers real quick. As you can see, the one up there is the Veteran Drop-In Services. The first one's from Allentown, what we provide there, what days of the week. The second one is our family group, which is one of the 7 holistic peer-based. The third one up there is the Northampton County, which has since been upgraded. I have to change that. We have a Battle-Borne female veteran support group. And we just, let me see. Susan, are we on the 5th year? I get Kathy will tell you that I get messed up on the fiscal year things. I believe the first year we contracted with you guys was 2021? Because we're just signing our 5th year now. 5th year or 4th?
Time flies. I don't know. Fourth, fifth,
I can't tell because it goes like,
fiscal year.
July, but I think we're just renewed as of this week, our 5th year with drug and alcohol for Northampton County, which we are forever grateful for that. So let me just stop because I get like ahead of myself. Without the help of Northampton County Drug and Alcohol to show how much this service was needed when they allowed us to start this in 2021, that was the catalyst. That was the pioneer of seeing how much just one day a week in one county, how many vets we served. It's like, we need this everywhere, right? Because we couldn't just imagine if this is just Northampton County. I think I submitted the numbers today. Just alone, I left my phone, just alone in the fourth quarters, wait, it's not fourth quarter, it's first quarter.
First quarter of the
I
fiscal
always
year.
think the quarters go from July when you sign the contract to the next June. However, I was informed today that it's January to December to January. So I submitted the first quarter of this year's numbers. At Palmer Recovery Center, every Friday, we served 52 veterans walked in for services. That's in 3 months, 52, one day a week. For the groups of the yoga, the massage therapy, and some of the networking, there was over 157 veterans and their family members came to that center in Easton for services. That's the weekly yoga. There's 2 weekly yogas, and then the drop-in programs. So once the Northampton took off, we saw the need, opened up a couple more centers. The next flyer is the family group. Then the purple flyer is the weekly yoga group that takes place at Palmer. Then the massage flyer, we do the massage both in Allentown and Easton. And that is provided by a veteran who is licensed massage therapy to work with veterans with PTSD and substance abuse recovery, because we know that those two demographics have a very difficult time relaxing. So with the yoga and the massage together, it makes a combination that's just really powerful. And as you can see, my most proudest, the last flyer, we are, as far as I'm aware, the only, not only veterans, but only nonprofit in the entire county that provides trauma-informed yoga. I mean, I think there used to be 1 or 2, and I could be wrong, but as far as I know now, we're the only ones providing a trauma-informed yoga with licensed trauma certified yoga instructors. And we do that every Wednesday night at Palmer. The 2 flyers you see up there are military share programs. Now, we don't do them here in the county, but we think they're very valuable because we are about to launch one with Second Harvest in Bangor, PA. There was a food share in Bangor. Don't quote me. I don't know the name of the organization that was running it, but the people that were running it have decided to retire and step away from it. Second Harvest has asked us if we'd be willing to pick that up. It's a lot of work. We do one in Allentown. We're serving between 68 and 80 families per month in Lehigh County, and we're serving between 52 and 75 in Monroe. Now, those are what we serve. There's more people on the list, but we only calculate what we serve by who signs up to come back each month. But Bangor has over, I think, 100 that they're serving. So if Second Harvest can't renew their grant, those 100 people are going to go without food. So we're really hoping and praying, so keep your fingers crossed that Second Harvest can figure out a way to launch that back in Bangor, PA. And the middle thing, with the help of Mr. McClure, 2022, we acquired a van through a grant through Northampton County. That van is utilized to transport. I think I ran some quick numbers. Since this year alone, we've transported 32 since January, Northampton County veterans alone in that van. Now, it's important to say that we're a very small organization. I can't always drive. Anthony can't always drive. So we do contract with Danny's Ride, which I'm fairly certain that most of you are familiar with. But with the Danny's Ride contract is we don't utilize them to take over for us. We pay the Uber fee and pay Danny's Ride a fee to use their share. So it's still coming 100% through our organization. They just allow us to use the ride share and we pay the fee towards the annual cost of that share. So it's still directly being transported through Borne, just sometimes we have to do Uber. So we're hoping to continue to do that, because that's a huge need here in Northampton County, but there are so many community partners like, Palmer Recovery Center, Hope, they give bus passes, but sometimes these guys live pretty far and can't get places on a bus. All right, and I think one of the proudest things that we finally were able to launch was when we started in 2018, the goal was a veterans transition home. Back in 2018, it was something that was very much needed. We were on target to do that, and then this lovely thing happened called the pandemic, which kind of shot that dream in the foot. However, we were able to acquire the home within 7 years instead of 5. We have the first veterans transition home in Easton. It is located on 11th Street in Northampton County. It has 3 bedrooms. There is currently 3 veterans residing there. I like to say we're a 1-for-1 because it's a mission transition program, and our first resident lived there for 7 months. We got him everything you see there with the program, reentry initiatives, career link, education, financial literacy, transported them back and forth. He acquired a job through career link, through the DVOP, the Disabled Veterans Occupational Person, and then he's working, and now 7.5 months he's in his own apartment. So I like to say we're 1-for-1. I'm hoping to be 4-for-4 soon. All right, so why our services are important. This is an annual impact report from 2023. Now, this is pretty much for the Valley. This is not just Northampton County, but just alone in 2023, when we actually went back and tried to track all the numbers, there were 482 families fed, 45 veterans transported, 53 veterans that were assisted with living and housing. Now, we didn't have the house then, our own home, so that was getting them into Victory House, that was getting them off the street into some sort of transitional home. By the way, let me back up. I think it's important to mention that with the van, because it totally went over my head. With the van, we've even at 2 times in the last year, the VA has reached out to us of veterans who were incarcerated in Northampton County and were able to be paroled pending they had transportation to the next place that they were going. We transported one veteran to a assisted living home in Orangeville, PA. It was a 3.5-hour ride. In talking with some of the staff at Northampton County Prison, if he did not find transportation and he had no family, he would have been kept under incarceration. He had nowhere to be paroled to. So once we helped arrange that, we were able to transport him and get this elderly gentleman out of the legal system. So I think it's important to mention that that's how powerful the van can be. So 350 peer support group attendees, 120 were referred to VA benefits. That is also part of Palmer, because once a month at Palmer, we have Alex Carrillo comes over and is set up on site in the center, and we advertise that, and veterans really, really appreciate being able to walk in and get VA benefits, claims filed, or questions answered on site, because these VA reps, they're great, but they're handling whole counties. They get tons of emails a day. So I can't tell you how many veterans appreciate when Alex Carrillo is on site at Palmer, and I'll post up, hey, Alex is here this week, and they love it, because they come in and they sit down right across from Alex and they get questions answered and claims filed, and that's huge, because a lot of guys get discouraged with the wait of the VA's operating set. I'm trying to say that really nicely. But it's just a reality. They're overwhelmed. And then when we first started at Palmer, I think it's important to mention that we used to have, the county allowed 2 veteran staff members who would also be on site with us weekly. And those veteran employees were drug and alcohol assessor and mental health assessor. So those were the 2 employees that if you called crisis, if I understand this correctly, and you said, hey, I'm struggling mentally, those veterans, if it was for substance or mental health, would be the people to evaluate you. And I can't tell you that when we had those guys on site, how many more veterans walked in to get help on the spot than when we didn't have them. Because when they call and they're like, hey, I need help, and we're like, oh, hey, okay, well, come on in and we'll call somebody. They're like, not doing that. But we're like, hey, come on down. We have somebody right here, right now. We're going to talk with you. We're going to see what we can do. And then they come in. Like, I said this to people before, and I don't mean to sound redundant. Our motto is, let us catch them and you clean them, right? There are tons of veterans, whether I hope someday this changes, but they just do not want to talk to someone unless they're a vet. And we need to have vets in place in these community centers, you know, to, when they come in, they're going to know I can't tell you with the food shares, just to give you an example, how many vets that come to our share that were struggling and wouldn't go to a share in their county when it was through a church. And when you ask them, well, why didn't you go get food? I couldn't go into a church and be around people to feel like they were judging me. We have to get past that barrier of the stigma that these guys face with thinking that because I'm a vet, I shouldn't ask for help. You know, so that's really what it boils down to on why what we're doing here in the county is so important. So, sorry, I get a little sidetracked. So 62 veterans, 120 were referred to VA benefits. I would say out of that 120, if I would take an educated guess, probably a good 40 of them were through Alex Carrillo. So alone in Northampton County, probably 40 vets connected with Alex in an in-person basis. And then you talk about 80 between Carbon, Monroe, and Pike County. So I think 40 is a pretty big number for Northampton. 62 veterans received treatment, whether that was through a referral through the drug and alcohol in the county or getting them assessed through treatment trends. We helped 62 veterans out of Palmer and a few other locations get into some sort of drug and alcohol treatment. Now, the only reason you got 2024 up there is just to show you the increased need. The food shares went up to 780 from 420. The transports went up to 57. The assisted housing went up to 48. The group attendees went up to 275 for peer groups. Was 120 for VA benefits for 23. It was 142 in 24. And 47 veterans went to treatment instead of 32. So I think those numbers show an increase in the impact and the magnitude of what we do here with Northampton County. So we're going to skip this sponsor partner thing. That's really not relevant, but I don't know if anybody here has ever heard of the Lehigh Valley Walk for Recovery, but in 2019, we started planning our first annual walk for mental health. It was called the Lehigh Valley Walk for Recovery. It's been super successful. We've held it twice at Louise Moore Park, once in New Jersey, and this last year we did it at Lehigh Community College, L-Tri-C. And we move it around each year. We've literally rebranded it. It's called the Walk for Wellness, and we'll be doing it in Bethlehem, PA this year on September 13th at the Wooden Match. The walk will take place on the D&L Trail. So our goal is to continue to move it around. The reason why we originally called it the Lehigh Valley Walk for Recovery was that people would not confuse and think that, oh, this is a Battle-Borne walk, it's just for vets. This idea is, again, under a collaborative mindset of bringing civilians and veterans together to show that there's not a difference. We just need to bring them together a lot because there's this like, oh, well, I don't understand them and they don't understand me. And then we forget that we're all still just human beings, and when we get around each other, we understand each other more than we think we don't. So that's the walk. 2025, with the help of supporters, we're already looking and we're already on target. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I'm thinking within 6 months we'll have the second home. Again, we're looking here in Northampton County because so far we feel like the big need is here, but we'll see what happens. We'll look and see what comes up. We're going to continue to build our workforce reentry programs and life skill programs, continue to provide transportation, continue to be a structured support for veterans and their recovery, and continue to create a community of caring, not only for our veterans, but for everyone. I feel it's important to say, backtrack, that trauma-informed yoga that drug and alcohol allows us to do at Palmer, that is not just for vets. It is the one program that we operate out of Palmer Recovery Center that is open to anyone in this community that has experienced trauma. We probably average between 6 and 8 participants each week, and I can tell you right now, about 3 of those are veterans, and the other, 3 to 5 are not. So we just got a call yesterday. Someone called Palmer and said, hey, is yoga going on this week? And the director of Palmer said, it's not this week, it'll be the first week of next month. And she said, well, I'm not a vet, can I attend? And Deborah T. was like, absolutely, you can attend. So that's for Northampton County residents, not just veterans. All right, for the sake of time, these are some testimonies, some notes from our veterans, just telling you like how they got help. We've been asked a lot to have, for events, hey, can you get a testimony? And we've been one that never really wanted to do that. We never wanted to ask one of the veterans that receive assistance for us, hey, can you do a testimony? We really prided ourselves on not doing that. Matter of fact, the only testimony we have standing to date of being in business now 7 years, is Anthony, who is sitting behind me. We had did an interview. We were being interviewed by 69 News, and Anthony had said something that just floored me, and something I didn't really know that he received from getting involved with our organization. And then there's a story to this, a second PBS 39 did a special on us for our Veterans Center in Allentown, and they interviewed him as well, and he said a very similar thing. And for some reason, because they aired like a 2-part special, they didn't put the second part in. They didn't put the second part of what Anthony said in the testimony. And it takes a lot for veterans who experienced combat and struggles with PTSD to tell that story. Like, it takes a lot. So, I know he was discouraged, and I said, hey, man, I'm sorry that they didn't put that in there. He said, he said, well, if my story can help one person, then it's worth telling it. And then so someone on our team said, well, why don't we record it? Because then we can use it over and over to help people. And it was like, and Anthony was like, I'm on board. So I hope to God he never has to tell that story again, and that we just keep the video and don't lose it. So that's just some testimonies. I mean, in a nutshell, we're committed to supporting those who have served our country and just being a part of that connective journey for them to help connect them to any type of resources they may need. And that's all I got. I want to thank you guys for your time. I hope that wasn't too exhausting. It's a lot to talk about in 7 years. We've really come out of the gate, and because I feel we were so much needed. Oh, the video's available? You guys got 4 more minutes?
Sure.
You sure? Hey, listen, they told me to get up here and talk as long as I wanted. They said, I said, I can probably be done in 20 minutes. And they said, well, we had a couple people at one time present for a whole hour. I said, I don't want them throwing me out. So, do I just press the button? Oh, so Anthony's
Can we ask
testimony.
you some questions?
Oh, absolutely, please.
People have some questions?
First of all, thank you so much. This was really informative. Do you have a Facebook or Instagram?
Absolutely. I really apologize because I was so excited about bringing the challenge coins that I forgot to grab the brochures. So on the, she's got a printout for now. There is a QR code on there, I believe. If you just click that. We have Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We're not the greatest at social media. That's why Rose is here to help us. But we try to do a good job of managing that. The walk stuff goes up there. Our weekly flyer about being at Palmer goes up there. Just all the programs that we do, the events that we create. If you scan that, we'd love for you guys to follow us to see all the cool stuff we're doing and just to promote the partnership we got here with the county.
I will definitely help share that information, and I just want to say thank you so much for this. I have 2 kids in the military, and my one daughter collects these like they're gold coins. I mean, she just absolutely loves them. She has 1 million of them. She has little like cases for them. So this is like, now I have my own.
Well, when you see her, you're like, ask her where her challenge coin is.
I will.
I have challenge coins for those of you that were not here when I handed them out. So thank you for the question, though. Any
other questions?
Oh, mine. Thank you, Madam President. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more, maybe just briefly, about the trauma support and therapeutic workshops that you do as part of the services. I know with obviously the trauma-informed yoga, which is awesome, but could you talk a little bit more about that? Because I want to make sure when I'm in the community, I'm on the lookout for, because mental health is a very important issue to me, and if I'm able to help facilitate anything, I definitely want to.
So in the first year that we contracted with the county, I was still brand new and was a little, nervous about being like on paperwork and all that stuff. So what we did is we brought Northbound and Company in, which was our partners, who was the attorney that helped me start it. And what Northbound did is they provided a civilian trauma support group, and then we provided the veterans trauma support group. But as time went on, we weren't able to continue to provide those groups. So we kept the yoga.
Yeah.
So now we have team members. A predominantly large amount of our team are LCSWs, LPCs. We have a PhD on our team. We can provide that stuff. We're just not providing direct one-on-one trauma support to individuals, because then we would have to have like an actual license. So what we do is, if someone comes to us outside of trauma-informed yoga, we then refer them to one of our team members' jobs. And some of those are, for example, it doesn't matter what your income is or your benefits. So we have that service available. We're just not promoting that we provide trauma counseling and stuff like that, because we did get a grant in 2023. We actually took a year of planning to provide the first MST support group that is around, and you will not find one. Does anybody not know what MST means? Military sexual trauma. It is very huge, and it is very under-talked about. It is 1 in 3 female soldiers or service members experience it. It's 1 in 8 males who experience it. These are, as you can see from, it's not something I'm comfortable talking about. The reason it's 1 in 8 males is because we believe that's only who reports. So it's something that happens all too often. It's a big thing in the veterans community, and it's a huge need for veterans that have struggled with that, and there's not a lot of help out there. So our clinical team spent a year designing an MST support group. We talked with every single provider, every vet rep, legitimate drug and alcohol organizations that are here in the Valley that were like, oh my God, we have clients that are struggling with that. Once we put it together and got the grant, we literally could not get one referral. All the people who told us they had, I got clients that need this. All of a sudden, okay, hey, where's the referrals? Oh, well, I reached out and I don't think they're still interested. And then we finally got a referral for one of the cycles. I mean, it was a complete program with yoga, outdoors, nutrition, massage, and then the peer support stuff, a 12-week group. And not to go off, but it was just designed perfectly. Everybody we showed it to was like, oh my God, this is amazing. But when you only get one referral, you can't do trauma group with one person because it becomes individual counseling then. So we couldn't accept it. And then we did get a couple referrals, but a couple of them were from Carbon County. So to drive from Carbon County, which is, I don't know if you guys know this, Carbon County is the highest suicide rate in the state of Pennsylvania. And there's a huge demographic of military sexual trauma survivors in Carbon County. So that's why we really launched this program. But then it was like, how do we get them from Carbon to Allentown or Easton to do this program? We don't have transport. And so it just became like a very difficult thing. So we ended up not launching it. But to answer your question, if I can, we do the yoga. We have community partners that will work with individual counseling. We have a partnership with the VA, MOUs with VHP, contract with the county, which we wouldn't use them for the trauma stuff, but we use VHP and, most importantly, Scranton Vet Center. So Scranton Vet Center is it's a veterans center. It's not technically the VA, but it's run by the VA. And the greatest thing about us referring a veteran to the vet center is it doesn't have to be documented. Some MST programs will require a level of documentation. All the military service member has to say for Scranton Vet Center is, I've been affected. And then they can receive counseling right through the vet center, whether it's virtual or in person.
Well, thank you very much for that explanation. I really appreciate it, and thank you so much for your service, your military service, but your service to the community as well. I come from a family line of veterans as well. My uncle's Air Force veteran, my father's Air Force veteran, my uncle, who's no longer with us, was United States Marine Corps Special Forces Vietnam, And I just want to thank you for your service, not just from a military perspective, but what you are doing here in our community. You're doing God's work, so thank you.
Thank you. No, I'm okay.
Any other questions? Sure.
Mr. Heckman is the chairman of this committee. He had a medical mishap, so he could not be here, so he apologizes. But he just got a text that he did appreciate your presentation. He is watching.
Thank you.
I have a question about the demographics or like the ages of the folks that you're seeing. Do you have a breakdown or a sense of a breakdown on that?
So if I open my laptop, yeah, but if I can remember off the top of my head, it's
Informally.
predominantly, we're actually seeing you ready? Who's the most underserved veteran population? I'll ask you a question. Who's the most underserved veteran population that we see today in the country?
Non-combat.
Women. Women veterans are the most underserved population that we see. That's why I should have, like, in the midst of that driving you nuts PowerPoint protocol, we started a specific women's group. We have a regular vet group and a women's group. The women get underserved a lot, and we have 4 women board members who are veterans, and they have really opened my eyes to the services that they lack compared to the men. So we provide a lot of exclusive women veteran services. And to answer your question about the demographic, we probably get more women veterans than our partners do. But to answer the exact question that you asked, we're seeing a lot of, this year it's changed, but in the past it was disabled veterans who are on limited income from Social Security. Predominantly, it's not like one race over the other. It's been an exact mix of different ethnicities because we track age, race, county, years that they joined the service. So the one thing that stands out, if I can pinpoint one thing, is it's a lot of the older vets. Because here's the thing. When the Vietnam guys came home, they had the VFW, the World War II guys had the American Legion, they had that. We have tons of more things today. But the younger generation, you're not going to find them sitting in the VFW. You're not going to find them sitting in the American Legion. That's just not how they deal with stuff. I'm sure if Anthony got up here, he could talk a little bit more. He's an Iraq veteran. But it's like, we get calls all the time like, hey, you got younger guys in your group that we can get to the Legion? And how do you tell these guys, hey, man, we figured out that sitting around talking about issues over alcohol is not conducive. It worked then. The younger guys don't really feel it, and I know this is being recorded, so I'm kind of hesitant to say it. Some of them don't like going too because the older guy, every generation of war makes the next generation feel like their generation wasn't nothing. So the World War II guys, Vietnam, you don't know nothing. And then the Vietnam guys, oh, you Desert Storm guy, you know what I mean? So like young guys don't want to deal with that. So we find a lot of the younger guys stay away from that environment. So like I said, predominantly we're seeing a mix of the races. We're seeing a huge amount of the 50-year-old veterans and up. Because like we get referrals all the time from the VA. They come to the center. Hey, I called the VA and I need help getting my ID. They don't know how to work an email. I mean, I'm 51. I just learned how to copy and paste last year, right? Like they don't know how to take pictures and scan. I mean, I'm sure Susan and Kathy can tell you, they get on me all the time. I don't know how to scan documents, PDFs. I mean, I'm still learning. So imagine the folks that are older than me. We have a couple of vets that come in that still have flip phones. Like legitimately have flip phones. And I'm like, you can't take a picture with this. They're telling the VA tells them to picture their ID and scan it. Like they're like, I don't know what to do. So I would say, if I could answer your question, a lot of older veterans, it's pretty much a mix of races. A lot of it pre this year were low-income disabled vets, and the saddest reality, I must hate to say this, but this year it's even veterans who are 100% service-connected disabled. We're seeing so much for, I'm behind on my rent, I'm losing my place, I don't have enough for food, because the price, listen, reality, the price went up on everything. So if you're a limited income veteran, living on a set amount per month, either from the VA or Social Security, and your rent went up, and your food went up, and now you can't afford to buy the stuff. And we work with a ton of programs, and this is just a reality situation. Most of the programs, like when Catholic Charities refers to us, they can't help until the veteran is homeless. We have to get more programs that can stop from being homeless, but predominantly, and there are a few, but a lot of them are like, well, we can't do anything until you're homeless. So it's really a struggle, but we're getting there. Little by little, we're getting there. We're making progress. Everyone's working together. It's not, I don't want anybody to misunderstand. I'm not up here saying, oh, people aren't doing a good job. It's just, things take time,
Thank you.
Cool.
Anyone else?
Really quick, just in terms of a resource, the various libraries that have come to our Economic Development Committee meeting, some of them have phones that they will either give out or loan to folks. And here in Northampton County, too, since you are a nonprofit, our Community Economic Development Department actually is running a program for folks who may need devices. They're like reused devices here at the county where if there are veterans that are in need of phones, they can actually get them right here in Northampton County.
If you could connect me with that resource.
Absolutely.
Because I know we had
Absolutely.
one like that where it was a company that comes out. She would come to our share program and she would ask people coming through the share. She could get them a phone and a tablet for free. But then I guess that program ran out of funding. It was a grant.
I'll be in touch with you, Chris. Okay?
All right, great.
Yeah.
Chris, great presentation. It's obvious you're passionate about it, and a lot of respect for you doing what you're doing. Words really can't describe it, but how many of the vets that you come in contact with are, I know it seems like the problems that they're dealing with, getting a job is probably the last thing on their list, but how many of them are looking for good work of that age, are able-bodied enough to do physical labor, that type of stuff? Is that a small minority, or is that a good chunk of who you're dealing with?
That's a tough question to answer. A lot of them are able-bodied. A lot of them are looking for work. And like I said, with that, we have tons of companies that reach out to us that are willing to give them on-the-job training. We work with a few nonprofits that help them get back to training, stuff like that. Sometimes it depends because they have gotten in trouble with the law or past addiction issues. So really a lot of that we refer and work with CareerLink. We're really close with Chris Lee. He is the DVOP. He's also a retired Navy veteran, so he has gotten numerous veterans employment because he's on the end of all the companies and what they can do and how that. So now, like, for example, it's hard to tell sometimes because sometimes these veterans are what you call 100% service-connected disabled, which means they receive money from the VA. Now, certain 100% VA-connected veterans can work and some cannot. It depends on what level of service connection they have. So if this answers your question, yes, we see a lot that need work, but when they come, veterans wait, like, I can only explain it this way. I will see a guy standing in front of us. Anthony can tell you 100 times we see this. They come in, you see the boat has crashed, they're on one plank of wood, and the water's up to their knees. And they will insist to you that they do not need help. And no matter what you offer them, they'll be like, no, I don't need that, I don't need that. So sometimes they'll come in and they'll be like, I can't pay my utility bill. So yeah, they need work, but they got more pressing needs. I can't pay my utility bill. So I'm like, hey, listen, we're going to connect you to someone that helps with utility bills. In the meantime, I'm going to give you a $250 grocery card, and I'm going to take you into our room and load you with cosmetics. No, I don't need food. I don't need cosmetics. Well, how many kids you got? I got 3 kids. All right, so hear me out. If I give you a $250 grocery card, and I don't know about you, but I have a 14-year-old who takes 3 baths a day.
Yes.
And when he was 12, I couldn't get him to get in the shower. He's got 4 body washes. I'm not even trying to be funny. This is like, I can't imagine if you got 3 kids doing that, what the cost of hygiene products are. So when I say, if I give you these hygiene products, and I give you this grocery card, it's $100 worth of hygiene, soap, toothpaste, toothbrush, shampoo, everything. I just saved you $100 in hygiene, and I just gave you $250 in groceries. Now you can use $350 of your income to put that towards the utility bill. And you see like a light bulb go off. But just 2 minutes ago, they're telling you, I don't need that. No, give the food to someone who needs it. So it's just a lot of times taking care of their most pressing need before I can worry about the big, there's I call it, I gotta be careful not to put Band-Aids on bullet holes. Does that make sense? They come in, they got like so many needs and they wait till, and it's frustrating. They wait till like the last minute and you want to be like, why did you wait so long? But we know why they waited so long. They waited so long because they're trained. Never retreat, never ask for help, never surrender. Every decision you make, her life depends on it. So now how am I supposed to be that instilled in me and then I'm supposed to come home and just automatically go ask for help? It's not happening. It's not happening. And that's what we're trying to change.
Then, lastly, I guess if you had a wish list or there's biggest obstacles that you're facing every day, what type of things could you be helped with, whether it be through the county going forward or if we collaborate with other people? Just put it out there on the record. What type of things can you be helped with? I know you guys don't like being asked for help or asking for help, but you're here. I'd like to at least hear what you're dealing with and what your biggest struggles are as an organization.
Wow. We are a group that doesn't like to ask for help. We're already super grateful for Northampton County. I mean, I know I drive Susan and Kathy nuts, but I hope they really know that without their partnership 4 years ago, that, pilot project of seeing how needed 1 day a week center was. I mean, I'd like to see a 5 day a week veteran center at some point. I think that would be great. I feel like we have 5 community drug and alcohol centers in the county that are awesome. They do great work, and we partner with each and every one of them. I mean, maybe at some point when funding becomes available, when things turn around in the world, we open up a veterans drop-in program in Northampton County, like a 5 day a week. Or, shameless plug here, I just filed for a grant to improve the veterans house that we got in Northampton County with the Norco grant. So that would be a tremendous help to make adjustments to the house, to maybe put some amenities in there to assist with veterans who might need extra help, and just making that a comfortable place. I mean, other than that, if you know someone who's got a property for sale, we're looking to buy the second home. We have a pretty good amount of money, but I mean, we could always use more. Shameless plug there, right? Hey, they asked.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I really wouldn't be able to give you like a this wish list. The housing is huge. We just took in a veteran from Victory House whose funding ran out from the VA. And they called us up and they said, hey, we got a guy. He has a job, but he just lost it, and he only has about $1,000 saved, and he's been here for a year. His VA funding is done. And I said, oh, man, okay. And they said, Chris, we really think this guy would be good. He just needs some help. So we took him in about 4 months ago. His Obama phone broke. I don't know if that's the right term. That's what they call it. His Obama phone, he called it that. I don't know what the term is. His government phone broke. He's slightly older, so we got him a phone. Our team bought the phone, and some supporters offered to pay. Got like 6 months of payment for it. His insurance had a problem with his car. We helped fix that. Referred him. Took about 3 months to get him on his feet. He had actually I don't mean to go off, but this is a really cool story. Not this part, but the story. He's not mentally challenged for anything to do with combat, PTSD, or drug and alcohol related. He doesn't have either of those problems. He contracted spinal meningitis when he was in the Army, and spinal meningitis almost killed him. So he gets super flustered at the most simple challenge if he gets flustered. And he had a job at Home Depot in the warehouse for 8 years and just lost it. But the good news is he is doing fabulous. He's got his car insurance back. He's got his phone. Through DVOP, we got him a job at FedEx. He's working 20 hours a week, and he's putting in some of that money towards his rent, which obviously we cover what they can't afford, but he's contributing. So in 4 months, he went from where he would have been on the street because he had no more funding, and all he needed was a chance. You see what I mean? Like, sometimes these guys just need a chance.
Thank you for giving them.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate you. And if you do have more asks on the wish list, don't hesitate to come here and ask for it. And then if I have a constituent that needs your help, I could get that data on the QR code, correct? Because I have clients sometimes that might benefit from your services. So if I have somebody, I can find you through the QR code. And
Yeah, the
link them.
QR code will have socials, but it also has on the
Phone
back of
number.
that, on the back of that thing, there's a website. So we have it 2 ways. They can call the phone number, they can apply We have what they call a hardship grant on the application. They could bypass talking to us and just fill out the application. There's also volunteer applications on the website, just, what? What? You told me. There's volunteer applications, so they can call, email, or they can fill out the hardship grant. Right on the website, there's a spot for hardship grants. And most often if they call the number, either myself or the case manager is gonna call them back. And then we'll figure out, like through a small vetting process, what it is that they need, what it is that we think we can help with, and what it is that we can refer them to. So yeah, by all means, anybody who needs the services, have them call or send an email. Because the QR code is going to take you to the website or the socials.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry, Madam President. He had a video that he wanted to show.
What I'd like to do is move to the second half of what we need to do, and we can play that video at the end of the meeting, because then I'm going to bump into your meeting. So
Okay.
close it
Yeah,
with his video.
the video
if
was
that's
just
okay.
there. It's not like you have to see it, but it's up to
Well,
you.
I don't want to do that, but in the interest
No.
of time, I'm going to
Yes.
bump into her meeting, and I had somebody who used to do that to me, and I don't want to do that to her. So, thank you again
Thank you for
so
having
much.
us. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And that, you said was a 4-minute? He said it was 4 minutes? All right. So next, we have an update from Gracedale and all the departments. Before we start that, I have a question for you that you probably can't answer today.
That's okay.
But, and I didn't put a report from you on here, I apologize.
No,
but
that's okay.
when I was at NACO, they began to talk a lot about the bill and the
Yep.
changes in the bill. And they talked a lot about the rate of error for the state and then the county. Are we calculating that, and do we have data on that? And can we talk about that next month?
You're talking about like SNAP benefits,
SNAP and.
so that doesn't fall under us at all at the county.
And there's something else that, is it more than SNAP? It was just SNAP.
The Medicaid piece is tied into that. Let me talk
I
to Christy.
assumed was that Christie.
Let me
and-
talk to Christy and see if she can put her head together on that and see if there's anything meaningful she can provide you.
And what I'm not articulating well, and you guys can help me, is that they talked about how they will make these determinations, and that if our rate of error is greater than a certain amount, then we're the ones that are gonna get the most cuts. So the goal is to start tracking the rate of error of payments, so that if we have a lower one, then we will not have those cuts. So I assume that Pennsylvania is at this point, I think, above 10%, but we're not the worst in the country. So I figured we'd have to do that county by county.
And I was going to say, the problem that I understood it, I can't speak intelligently on it, except to say, it's my understanding it's a statewide as opposed to county by county. The one thing I can tell you is we have somebody in Health Choices who is like the IT claims billing expert, and basically he is routinely correcting Magellan, which they love. So in terms of, I would be very confident that Northampton County was good, but if it's the state as a whole, I don't know what that will look like. But let me talk to Christy.
Yeah, I just
And see
wanted
if
to
she has
bring it up
anything to
while I
add.
remembered.
Sure.
And I know I will forget it, but if we could
Robin will
start
remind
looking.
me.
Yeah, but she can't remind me. So
No, but
just-
she'll remind me and I'll let you know.
Because it was interesting, and I mean, it seems preventable if we do our due diligence, and I'm pretty sure we're probably pretty good at it, but thank you for that. And then we can
Sure.
move on to Gracedale. So if you wanted to start with that.
Sure, I know there was obviously a ton of questions last night. I think if council is okay with it, I think if we let Michelle Morton give her report, which contains a lot of our typical info, plus most of the answers, I think, to your questions last night, that would be my suggestion as to how we start. And Michelle will keep track of time so we can speed up or slow down. And then whatever questions aren't addressed in her report, we're happy to take afterwards, if that's okay with you.
I think that's fine with me. The only thing
Sure.
I ask is anybody else who presents beyond her introduces themselves, because last
Sure.
night we had a few people here not doing that. And even for those who
Lori.
take notes. Yes, sir. The God is talking, excuse me. Yes?
Can you hear me?
Yes?
All right. I would like next month that the Human Service Committee meeting is Gracedale, period. And that Sue,
Yes?
Your phone cut out, Ron. We can't hear you.
No, here I am. Then, I'm sorry. The next one would be that we have. I'm sorry. Here, hold on. I had a rough time yesterday with my with my MRI and the stuff they gave me. Anyway, I'm sorry. I apologize for the confusion. Next month, I'd like to have, if we could, dedicate the entire Human Services Committee meeting to Gracedale. And Sue, the director at Gracedale, the significant management staff would all be present because we've got to talk this out. And I believe the time has passed that we go at this, go at that, go at this, that we talk about the entire package, because I've been involved with this now for decades, and I'm very concerned. I'm very concerned about what has happened. I'm very concerned more so for the future, because frankly, and this isn't just on this administration, it's on a lot of administrations, there seems to be no solid plan going forward, because Gracedale's not going to be here just because it's Gracedale. We've got to come up with something. Whether I don't want to get into the wethers, but I think that what we really need to do is not as worthy as things can be. We have to right now say there's only one thing on the agenda next month, and that is the county nursing home, and that is what we'll be discussing with everybody involved in the county nursing home. No presentations, nothing, just talk about the county nursing home like the old committees used to do on council. Because that's how council learns things, by asking questions. So that's all I had to say. Thank you. Now
Thanks,
I'm just
Ron.
Um,
going to listen.
And Mr. Heckman, I think that you'll be pleased with what you hear from Michelle tonight, because part of the work that she has done since being there only since March is working with the Gracedale team to put together a strategic plan to move forward. So I do think probably a lot of your questions will be answered, and the ones that are not, especially if we have an idea specifically of what, kind of information you're looking for, we certainly will be prepared to focus on that for you. That's not a problem at all. So before Michelle starts, Mr. Brown, the only thing I didn't want to forget to say is I did confirm, I told you last night I have no idea what happens to contracts after I sign them and the county exec signs them. The contract notification form, which is basically the cover sheet, and if there's any unique things about that. Obviously, as you know, every contract is, 20 pages are the same of every contract. Those go to council, every contract. So I don't know how that process works, obviously, in your office, but you should at least have the cover sheet. And we do have agency contracts tonight, and I have the daycare contract and amendment, so you can have those as well. But I just wanted to clarify that. So without further ado, I will let Michelle come up and give her report. Do we have copies to hand out? We do. I can hand them out for you. Okay, thank you. Sure. My bad. I got it.
I'll wait till you have them in your hands. So obviously, I'm Michelle Morton. So I'm the nursing administrator at Gracedale, and as Sue said, I started in March, mid-March. Okay, thank you. Okay, to start with staffing, because I know that's been something that we're talking about. Our first slide there shows our new hires in June of 2025. We had 10 new hires and 7 terminations. 5 of the terminations were voluntary and 2 were resignations, so we had no involuntary terminations in June. We are making progress, as you'll see, because 7 of the 10 new hires were in the nursing department, and we only lost 1 nurse's aide. Regarding our staffing, on the next slide, I'd like to put that in a little bit of a perspective first regarding the status of healthcare workforce in Pennsylvania as a whole. So this data is from the study Care Across the Continuum, which was completed by the Hospital Health System Association of Pennsylvania, Leading Age PA, and the Pennsylvania Healthcare Coalition in April of 2025.
That study included 211 nursing homes in Pennsylvania, which is about 1/3 of the nursing homes in Pennsylvania. And one of the difficulties why they combine them together is hospitals and nursing homes are competing for the same staff. So overall, I included the slide that talks about the open positions in Pennsylvania nursing homes. So 17% of Pennsylvania nursing homes have 1 to 5 open positions. 29% have 6 to 10 open positions. 21% have 11 to 15 open positions. 12% have 16 to 20 open positions, and that's where Gracedale falls. We have 18 open positions in nursing right now. 12 of those are nurses' aides, 4 are LPNs, and 2 are RNs. And then 20% of the nursing homes have 21 or more open positions.
Could you repeat our staffing, please, again?
Our staffing, we have 18 open nursing positions.
And the breakdown again, please?
12 are nurses' aides, 4 are LPNs, and 2 are RNs. That's for our full-time positions.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So agency scheduling, I know a question came up about the rates, so we do have our agency contracts for you. It will take a little bit more time to compile all 3 years of the agency numbers, but here's what we have right now. So January through May of this year, we had a budget of $9,125,000 for agency. We have spent $9,102,681 for agency. So we're running below budget. Agency staff worked for a total of 164,000 hours from January 1st through June 6th of this year. Regarding numbers of staffing, that was a question. I think what information we'd rather get for you is the number of hours worked over time, because numbers of individuals doesn't really tell you a good story. So we could have one nurse, for example, agency that worked 1 shift and then never worked for us again, whether of their own volition or because we didn't want them back. You know, if we have someone and we're like, oh, we didn't really like their performance, we don't want them to come back, we'll call the agency and say, you know, put them on DNR, which means do not return. Because we are really tight on what we expect from our agency.
Just a question, the numbers you're rattling off, are they anywhere in printed?
I will get them to you in a more formal report. This was kind of last minute from last night's meeting. So we will get you more detailed numbers that are formal. We did have 829 agency employees on our books, but not all of them worked even 1 shift. So if we looked at our PBJ report, there's been about 650 to 700 agency who have worked for us, but again, some of them may have worked only 1 shift. So I do think that getting you numbers of this is how many agency hours are worked is actually more relevant.
I don't want to keep cutting you off, but you have a lot to report, so I just want to kind of stop you while you're on a topic that's relevant.
Yes.
And it doesn't need to be an exact number, but I guess the information I was trying to get last night or for you today, if using round numbers, let's say there's 100 nurses and staff in a given day, 70 of those agency, like what percentage, and then of that percentage, on average, what is that number? You know, how many nurses do we have that are Gracedale nurses and how many are agency nurses, just so we can get an idea of how much we're being supplemented by agency staffing?
Yes, I'll get you detailed numbers, but on average, I would say that we're running like 70 to 80% agency.
And what is the total working staff in a given day? Not just agency, just in total. How many does Gracedale usually have in there every day?
That I'd have to add up all the numbers because we staff according to each unit and how many residents are in there and also the acuity of the residents. So that number fluctuates a little bit more. So, you know, I only had from last night to figure out what you needed from last night till today. So I do know the overall numbers, and I do know that you'll see later in this slide, not only are we looking at our numbers, but our PPD was running really high. So PPD is our hours per patient per day, and there's obviously state minimums for that and also numbers that we want for good care based on our residents. And that was running very high at the beginning of the year, and we're watching that now very closely, as well as overtime. So if we need overtime for resident care, then, obviously we need it. We need to take care of people. But if there's other things that like, okay, how could we run more efficiently? Could something be done differently? We've dropped overtime significantly, which you'll see in this slide as well as we move on.
Add something, Michelle. I think, Mr. Gafredo, one of the things that Gracedale has is a breakdown of, based on census, on each unit, how many staff are required. And I think that will answer your question, but it's a different grid, but it's a very black and white number based on census, so we can get that for you.
Since we're going to be waiting until the next meeting to get all this, I'd really like to know, agency staffing and Gracedale staff. I kind of want to know by department, like RNs,
Yes.
kind of get an idea of where we hurting the most, where we doing the best type of thing. So if you have time to go into detail, breaking it down, that would be helpful.
Yes, in general, I can tell you we are doing a little bit better with CNAs than we are with nurses, but not by a really significant amount.
And I think when Mr. Brown asked a question last night, I think that's the information. When Michelle and I talked this literally right before the meeting, I think she articulated a better way to get the answer that I think will actually be more helpful for you in terms of, so she gives you a rough percentage, 70 to 80%. I think the hours worked is actually going to give you a more definitive number and will answer your question better. And the other piece went right out of my head. But we can break it down by
Our
RN
employees,
agent,
though,
LPN agency.
I understand we lose employees, we have a turnover rate,
Yep.
but the amount of employees that we have in positions filled is relatively consistent. It might go up and down, but.
Correct.
And then the amount of staff agency that we're getting on average per week, there should be at least a line chart to be able to show, hey, are we going up, are we going down? Those are the relevant numbers. And then instead of a percentage, I'd like to know what that number is in actuality. It's obviously changing all the time, but at least get a ballpark of where we are.
And I think the reason that the numbers or the hours worked will be better than strictly a percentage is because if you have an agency nurse who worked one shift, or you have a part-time person who stayed for a month, that's going to be skewed. It's not going to really give you it'll give you a ballpark. And that's what we're giving you, but they need some more time, and they can do that, and we will have that for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just one follow-up on your slide where you talked about the open positions.
Yes.
That's, who are we hiring? Are these agencies or these county employees that are open positions, or that total of all the employees that you have between agency and county employees for providing care, 18
what's
are
in the
unfilled?
Yeah, and what's present in this presentation, the hires are our staff. So when we're talking about, we hired 10 new staff this month, that's
18,
great
but the
scale
18
staff.
open positions that you referred to, what positions are those?
We have positions in every department open.
Are they county employee positions or the agency positions or both?
Well, we don't list employees. Can I go over how we schedule agency? So whenever we're hiring, we're looking at Gracedale people. We want to hire Gracedale people. So what happens is when we have our schedule for the week of what we need for nursing, then we fill that with our own team first. Our team has the opportunity to pick up extra shifts if they want to provide coverage for us. But if we've asked all of our team members to fill in, and we've also had other staff member, for example, non-nursing staff members, non-direct care nursing staff members who are available to fill in, we'll take those before an agency. So I had a salaried nurse who works a non-direct care position come in last weekend to help out with the staff. So we try to do that too. I came in on the weekend myself one day and did a one-to-one to free up a nurse. So we try as a team to staff it ourselves. If we can't get enough staff by ourselves, then an agency shift gets posted. So then of the various agencies, they'll say to their team, okay, we have open positions at Gracedale, and they'll try to find someone to work. So, and it's not always set. Maybe one day it's agency A has someone that can work for us. Maybe another day it's agency B. So, they get the opportunity then to say, yes, we have an opening there. If, say, we put an agency in that position and then we had a staff member come in and said, well, I'm willing to take some hours, I'll take them, we would put our own staff back in and cancel the agency. So the only caveat there is we need to cancel the agency 2 hours before the shift starts. And if we don't, we still have to pay them at least half a shift. So, so that can be sometimes a little iffy. And our contracts for staff calling out allows them to call out up to an hour before their shift. So if they're waiting till that hour, now we're really scrambling. So we, are filling in and piecing it together the best that we can at that point.
Can I ask a question? So who handles that? Where do they call in, or who's managing that? Filling those gaps?
We have schedulers that work routinely, and they're the primary responsibility for the scheduling. And then once they're gone for the day, say it's an evening or a weekend, then the call-outs go to a supervisor. So a supervisor would be the one, handling the schedule at that point, since we are a 24/7 operation.
Thank you.
Are any of those people agency that are doing the scheduling?
No, that's our staff.
And I forgot to ask, in the context of all this, what's our census as of today?
Our census today is 496.
And while we're talking census, I'm sorry to keep jumping in. What percentage of, and this doesn't have to be an exact number, but ballpark, of those almost 500 residents are Northampton County residents that are elderly?
That I would have to run some statistic reports, because we do have a mix now of residents who are your more traditional nursing home residents who are older and in need of care, but we also get residents who are younger with mental health issues, and there's no other place for them to be served.
Are they sometimes outside of the county residents?
Occasionally, yeah. So then next, if you look at our PPD, you can see that in January, our PPD was 3.68. In June, we were 3.5. So we're really working on our PPD. We have worked and continue to work diligently on managing that. And the first staffing hours we do drop if our PPD is running high is we'll look at, okay, do we have any agency on? And if the agency is on, they'll be the first to go. So that's one way that we manage it.
Could you just take a minute and discuss what PPD is? Because I'm confused by the numbers, but I want to hear how you're looking at why you're trying to target it at a certain level.
The PPD is how many hours you provide for each resident per day. So you would take all the staffing hours and then divide that up by the number of residents that you have. So it's the average of how many hours that are, delegated for the number of residents you have.
But doesn't that have to have something to do with the care and reimbursement rates as well?
It doesn't impact the reimbursement rate. It impacts, obviously, the care that we provide, and there's regulatory minimums also.
So are you working to meet the minimum at this point, or?
We're above the minimum.
What is
So we're
that?
trying to get closer to the minimum, 3.2. And then the staffing ratios are also on there, because in Pennsylvania, you have not just the overall numbers that you have to meet, you also have to have a certain number of RNs per shift, certain number of LPN, CNAs. So that's listed on your slide there, what those guidelines are. So we actually have 2 staffing guidelines to meet right now.
Well, again, I'm trying to process it, because I thought before, and this is years ago, but I thought we were trying to get a greater PPD in terms of like service time to client,
You're
and that
correct-
we
you're
get a higher
correct.
star quality rating, because and we were trying to put their therapeutic time in there, because that goes toward the PPD,
Yes,
correct?
the minimum used to be 2.7 hours, so now it's 3.2. and
That's
you're
the state reg, correct?
Correct, and you're absolutely correct. We were really, post-pandemic, obviously, we were just terrible, like every nursing home, and then, crept back up to where we needed to be, and somehow, and I know this is what the county exec has talked about, somehow that exploded. That number at one point last year was, I think Lamont talked about, that was in the 3/8 and approaching 4.0, which, look, on one hand, right, it's the more hours we provide care for, right, the better for the residents, but realistically, that is, you can't run a county nursing home with that kind of level of staffing. So at 3.2, our staffing should continue to maintain us at a 4-star rating in the CMS star rating system, because that includes other things too, like the number of RNs you have, as Michelle talked about. That's, I mean, I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, but the PPD to be providing adequate care for the residents, but being financially responsible for the home should be around 3.2. And one of the things that Michelle and I just talked about the other day that really impacts it is when the doctors order one-to-ones. Michelle talked about coming in on Mother's Day to provide that service. That having 5 one-to-ones in the building can make a big difference in that number and financially. So, and it's often not actually necessary. So that's a whole other thing that Michelle's working on with her team, but that we were used to be running way closer to the 2.7 minimum. So at 3.2, that is absolutely the sweet spot for appropriate care and financial stability of the home. Does that make sense? But it doesn't impact the reimbursement.
You want the PPD to go up, you have to get more agency nursing, which then drives up the
Well,
money.
and really, so what we want though is, so part of the reason that the PPD came down, in addition to all of the things that Michelle and her team have done, is because we're increasing census. So when you're taking the total number of hours that CNAs, LPNs, and RNs worked and dividing it by the number of residents, if there's fewer residents, that PPD is higher. More residents, PPD is lower. So the goal now, it has been and will continue to be to fill all the vacant beds on units where there is already staff and residents in place, because that won't impact our staffing costs. Very minimally, if there's a ratio that has to be met, if we need one more CNA on a floor or something like that, but say you bring in 5 more residents, you can afford one more CNA. So, and mostly we don't need to add any staffing. So that's absolutely the goal. And the goal is still to be at 520, 500 long-term, 20 short-term rehab. And we're comfortable taking that to 550, 575. So that's what we're working on with admissions right now.
I would add to that another thing that we're looking at as far as the care for the residents is providing more training to our staff, because I feel that if we're better training our staff and preparing them for handling the challenging residents that we, admit these days, then that helps. It's not necessarily always just numbers. It's that, do staff know the best way to manage someone who has a mental illness or a behavioral difficulty? So that's a piece of what we're doing as well. And I did want to point out that our overtime for non-nursing career services, in January of this year, we averaged 223 hours of overtime per pay, and in June, we have that down to 47. So that's a significant decrease in what we're spending on overtime for the non-direct care staff.
What did you do to bring that overtime down? Besides mandate no overtime.
We did mandate no overtime, but we're doing a lot more talking and collaboration as a group, talking about, okay, how do we operate more leanly, looking at which meetings people are going to. Do we need everyone at this meeting? Who needs to be at this meeting? Could we take them out of that meeting so they can do other work? So trying to restructure ourselves that way. Some of our meetings that were more just informational, it's like, okay, why are we spending our time with something that's just information and doesn't need discussion? So now we do a weekly update, that anything that's just a FYI type of thing that doesn't need a group discussion, we compile one email, which also saves time, because instead of getting multiple emails all week, we're getting one email with all the department's updates in that. So just looking at how we can be more efficient in our operations. And then we work with our leadership team. If someone knows that something happened and need overtime, we'll look at, okay, not just accepting it and saying, okay, yeah, fine. We'll look at it and say, okay, well, what else can we do then for the rest of the week to make up for that? Is there something else that could wait? Could someone flex their time a little bit? So we're trying to be very careful that when there is overtime, we know that it was absolutely needed. And some of our overtime right now actually is for staff helping in the nursing department. As I mentioned, people coming in saying nursing is short. Well, is there something someone else can do to help out the nursing team, to free the nursing team up. So we've had other staff come in and sit and do the one-to-one, or come in and sit and answer the phone in the supervisor office so the supervisor can go do other work. So it's really part of that teamwork and collaboration that we're working on.
I have a question.
Yes.
Go ahead, Ron.
How many agencies do we contract with?
We have 15, is that correct? 14.
14?
Yeah, but we do use 2 primarily. 2 are the ones that have, I guess, the largest staff and are more responsive and able to fill our needs. And we will be talking in the coming months. We have some ideas of how to address that agency, more efficiently, both money-wise and time-wise. But we're not quite at the point that we're ready to roll that out yet. So probably the next meeting, or at most the meeting after that, we'd be able to discuss that.
All right, and in line with that, I know each contract, generally, each agency, they work out how much the pay is, straightforward. But then if you ask for overtime, so are most of the rates time and a half at overtime, give or take? And is that factored into the contract as a whole? Or are we then billed monthly or yearly if we go over that?
Yeah, well, we're billed for the number of hours used, so the contract isn't a set amount of dollars. It's, a rate per hour for each level of position. So there's a rate for RNs, a rate for LPNs, a rate for CNAs, so you pay that rate. And then, of course, by overtime laws, like if they worked enough hours to hit the overtime laws, then they would need to get paid overtime. We do try to avoid the overtime with agency, especially as much as we can, and say, hey, wait a minute, that's an agency person. Can we get someone else in to work that hour? So we're looking at that a lot more closely, too, when we run those reports every payroll, like, okay, what kind of agency overtime did we have? Because we'd much rather reach out and say, okay, does that agency or another agency have someone else that can give us? So we're really trying to avoid that overtime.
I understand, granted. Does the overtime, though, you said time and a half, is that what it would be? In other words, somebody from the agency has been there and now you've got to pay them overtime. Would the rate goes up then to what?
I would have to look at each individual contract. I don't know off the top of my head, because the rate that we're paying is not the rate that the person makes. The agency has a rate because obviously the agency is getting money. So I'd have to look at each individual contract.
Okay, understood. I'm trying to break this out because part of what we're talking about, the entire county, is the idea of the cost of employee and agency, and I'm not really interested. I know I've been following this for a long time, and particularly the more recent hiring situation that you and other facilities go through, but I'm not interested in the other facilities. So I'm trying to figure out, the county, if we hire somebody, we have legacy costs, which we don't incur with agencies and contractors. Having said that, though, I'm still trying to figure out with the agency, granted we may need them at times, all the time, but how is this working out financially for us, and how do we break that down? So I guess that's part of what I'm getting into.
Yeah, I understand, and you'll see when we get to the end of our presentation that we did put together a strategic plan. So our team has been very thoughtful about how we're moving Gracedale forward into the future. So we'll get to that in a few minutes.
Could I make a request?
Okay, well, just so you know, we don't have an audiovisual system for county council. I don't see your presentation. If somebody has a problem and they can't attend physically, they're out of luck, because I don't have the information in front of me. I'll listen to what you say, but just so you know, unless the presentation is put up on a shared some way, like the previous speaker, his was on. This is ad hoc. It's not on. And so I appreciate it. I'll listen, but I certainly won't see. Thank you.
Mr. Heckman, that's because there is no PowerPoint because of the questions that we added from the Finance Committee meeting last night. There was, I mean, we were literally doing it until about a half hour beforehand today. So council has a paper copy, which obviously you will get at some point. I appreciate that that's not in front of you, making it harder. But just know you're not missing out on a PowerPoint presentation.
So what I'm going to suggest at this, Ron, excuse me, it's at 4:55.
No, go ahead. I'm done.
It's at 4:55. We're not going to have time to hear your strategic plan. I would suggest if he's requesting this for next month, that we save it. And I apologize if you worked all night on that, but it sounds like you worked on it before and you just wanted to present it. But I think that in the interest of time, we should wrap it up, take any questions that we have for today.
Question for you,
And
Madam President.
or any questions that we can give, that we want answered for next time.
I guess I have a procedural question, since we have only one item on the next meeting. Is there any way we can let this go a little longer, since this is kind of a pressing issue?
And you know why I can't? Because I respect that she has a meeting at 5 o'clock. And
I would ask Kelly, too, if it's obviously something that you know more about. I don't know the meeting, what your schedule is.
So I get why you're asking that, but I feel like this is going to go on so long that it's not like 5 or 10
You
minutes.
could have a cutoff, too. It's up to you guys. I'm just at least having the conversation.
I think that Ron is right. Like, next Human Services meeting, we just dedicate this whole entire thing for the hour and a half. This is not going to get resolved in 5 or 10 minutes.
I agree.
And I want to respect my presenter, so.
I hated when I was cut off, and I had a plan for my own meeting.
We can have next month, in addition to the strategic plan, we can have all the updated information for you and any other questions you have that.
Well, I'm actually, I want to talk to council. I'm thinking of having a separate meeting just on Gracedale beyond Human Services. So, I mean, it'll either be next month for Ron, or we may have just a separate night where we have a complete focus on Gracedale. Because I think there's so much going on, and I think there's a lot more that we have to ask.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
And maybe this is a good way to close this. I know you've only been there a few months, and Gracedale is far from your responsibility, where it is at this point. But you are there. You are an experienced person. With your most honest description and your best guess going forward, what are our chances here of having Gracedale recover, get to a facility where we can staff it with mostly county employees, and be able to give the type of care that we would like to be able to say, as Northampton County, we're providing? Because at this point, you know, I understand everybody wants to say we have this facility for the goodness of the citizens, but it seems like it's not even half the time Northampton County citizens, and the other half the time they're not getting the care that they deserve, not because of a lack of effort, but because of a lack of, you know, resources.
I'm confident in Gracedale and in our team, and I want to actually throw kudos out to our team, because when you mentioned the strategic plan a minute ago, we didn't prepare that for this meeting. We did that on our own. We started it shortly after I arrived, because we have 8 new leaders on our team that are either new to their position or new to Gracedale as a whole. So we thought it would be a good time to take stock of where we are, where we want to go. So we did a lot of work on this, and actually this has been ready for a couple weeks now. But we didn't want to put it out there until the council had the opportunity to see it. So I think we have a really good leadership team in place who works very well together, who is very committed to Gracedale and to good care, and also to making it a good place for our employees to work, so that we not only recruit staff members, but that we retain them. And so we included all of those things in our strategic plan as goals of, okay, you know, this is where we're going to be, and how do we want to get there? What are our ideas for that? And I was really happy with the team and how well they engaged in that process. We did a SWOT analysis, so we looked at ourselves very closely, and, you know, our strengths and weaknesses, our opportunities and threats. We went through that very well. We came up with core values that we wanted to say this is what Gracedale is about and how we operate as an organization, which you'll see in the strategic plan. And we came up with goals for each area. And we've already made a lot of progress as far as moving Gracedale forward in everything that we do. So we have the right team in place. And, you know, we would benefit from support from all of you in that and hearing our strategic plan and what our plans are and giving that faith to our team members.
Ms. Morton, I expected that response, and I don't blame you for giving it. I think you almost have to in your position. As far as the administration and council goes, from everything I'm hearing, for people that have been there for a long time, that's not the case. And we have given this support to this Gracedale, I believe in the amount of $15 million, and it didn't go where we anticipated it going. I would like, when we have this meeting next month, for honesty and outside-the-box ideas, because I'm not seeing that, at least from on paper perspective. I'm not in that building, but on paper, we are less than 25% staffed with our own people, and we can't afford to keep going at the rate we are. So with that being said, we're here to help, but we also need to be told realistically what's going on, and it doesn't seem like that's been the case.
I think that next month, when we're able to go over the strategic plan, some of that will become more clear to you. And I think also by next month, an update on our kind of monthly closeout will become, will help clear things up too. So I just want to clarify two things, and then I will end. One, I'm going to double check the number of Northampton County residents, but it's my understanding it's the vast majority that are Northampton County, not half. So I will clarify that to make sure, because that's an important fact. And I'm not saying that the home is perfect, none of them are, but the quality of care at Gracedale, based on our star rating, is excellent. So I'm also confident in that as well. So looking forward to next month when we can kind of dive into this a little more, and Michelle has an opportunity to tell you what her team has done. So thank you.
I'm at 5:01. I have a 4-minute video to show, and I'm running into your time. Can I take your time? I have another council member who wants to speak. I apologize. This is your.
This is fine, it's fine. Go ahead.
It's unfair, and I
I would like to
apologize
speak after
to
Mr.
you
Warren, too.
and your speaker.
For 30 seconds, just want to thank very much, Michelle, you, your team at Gracedale, the nurses, over the course of the past 2 weeks of taking care of my mother in the rehab facility when no other rehab facility here in Northampton County would take her. Gracedale took care of her. She is now back at her place right now. Brought her home on Monday. I want to thank you for the excellent care that was given to her. Thank you.
Okay, and I would like to say that in the last few months, we have an improvement in census. We have an improvement in PPD. Our rating has gone up. Our OT has greatly improved, meaning it has decreased. And I want to also tell a personal story that my grandmother, after 2 nursing homes, and they took all of her money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and nothing was left. And after her dementia had escalated so badly, Gracedale was the only place that took her in where she was able to go, and she had excellent care there. So I don't understand, with all these facts here between census, PPD, our rating, our overtime, we have facts right here in front of us, why half this council continues to put out an illusory truth effect, which is saying things over and over and over again, which makes you believe that Gracedale is not a well-run place. And that is exactly what it is called, an illusory truth effect of saying something negative over and over and over again, which makes people believe that it's true. And it's not true. We have facts right here. Thank you.
Ms. Morton, I apologize that we ran out of time today. It was not my intention. I was told that the original presentation was going to be like a shorter amount of time, and I didn't feel it was appropriate to cut them off. So we will give you your time. And that is in no way intended to, on my part, to mean anything other than we want to get data, we want to give you the time that you deserve. So thank you for your patience with us today. I'd like to run that video, and then after the video, we can end the meeting. No audio? We discussed that last night. Why don't we hold this and try to show it at the beginning of the council meeting? If we can't get the sound. Okay? We'll show that during our meeting, our regular council meeting at 6:30. Okay, thank you very much. All right, I'd like to adjourn this meeting. Thank you all for your patience. Do you-
Lori, did you guys get that strategic plan that I passed that around from Gracedale? The strategic plan, okay. Yeah, he's doing good. Oh, thank you.